Hey guys, good morning. It's me again. So, today we are going to talk about cheap meal ideas for when you are on a tight budget. I don't know about you guys, but even if the budget isn't tight, sometimes I find myself spending a little too much at the beginning of the month and not having enough for what I need at the end of the month. So typically when I go grocery shopping, I plan my meals for a month and I do one big shopping trip at the very beginning of the month without my kids so I can just go and get everything that I can. And then each week after that, I spend a little bit amount of money to get our fresh food or whatever baking supplies we ran out of, and I can take all my kids with me and it's not as big of a deal of a shopping trip. So sometimes I find ourselves at the end of the month, we ended up going through a lot more baking supplies or other stuff than planned, and we're a little bit tight on our budget, and maybe I didn't feel like cooking some of the other meals that I wanted, but either way, we're out of money, and now what are we going to eat type of thing before, or what are some cheap meals that we can eat before the next month starts over for our budget. So the first thing I'm going to throw in that little bit tab, that is one of the reasons we have food storage, so we can always dip into our food storage if needed. But when you do dip into your food storage, you need to make sure you add that and buy that next month at the budget. But usually I try to not dip into our food storage unless we really, really need to, other than just using it for, I just lost my train of thought, sorry, other than just using it for emergencies and stuff. And then we basically use it and rotate it as we cook with our other food. So anyways, when you're cheap meals for when you're on a tight budget, let's get moving. So the first idea is to go through your freezer. Typically, you might have some extra chicken, or if you made any freezer meals, go through and try to use up those. I know I tend to be in a bad habit of saving them for when I really need them, and then I never use them, and then they go bad. Also, sometimes I make 2 batches of meals, or I double the recipe, and then I freeze half of it, and I try not to use that, but I do use it, and it's good to use that stuff in your freezer and to buy more because it rotates it. So the first thing is to go through your freezer. Is there any leftover meat or chicken or beef or ground beef that you can use for a meal? Or do you have any freezer meals that you've made and forgotten about? So that's the first step for cheap meals. Then the next step that I go to for cheap meals is breakfast items. Now this takes a little bit more hands-on work, but they are the cheapest thing ever. We do pancakes, we do waffles, we do biscuits, we do French toast with homemade bread, and all of those ingredients are ingredients you have in your pantry. You got bread, baking soda, baking powder, flour, salt, oil, sugar, all of that stuff and it's super cheap, and they're great meals. So usually I actually plan on 1 meal a week to be either waffles or pancakes for dinner because it actually helps our food budget in the long run. Good morning. And so the idea for the cheap meal ideas is to do breakfast items. It's also 1 meal a week that I know my kids will eat and I don't have to fight them on it. Okay, and thus another item for cheap meal ideas is pasta. Usually you can grab some basic pasta and grab some either spaghetti sauce or Alfredo sauce, pour it together, and it's a quick meal. Also, along with the line of pasta, there's macaroni and cheese, ramen noodles. Those are some pretty cheap things. They're not the healthiest, so I don't recommend obviously doing that all month on your budget. But if you need some cheap meals to get you through that last week before the next paycheck comes, then these are some ideas for it. Another one is baked potatoes. You don't have to have all the toppings. Butter is great. Sometimes cheese and butter on top is really all you need for a baked potato. And you can get a 5-pound bag of potatoes for $3. It's going to do 2 big meals for you. Another idea is bean burritos. So if you like to do cook your own pinto beans from scratch, you can do refried beans from pinto beans, and that's actually even cheaper than buying canned refried beans. And tortillas are pretty cheap at the store, or you can make tortillas again using the flour, baking powder or soda, I don't remember which one, and salt. So that's something cheap that you can make. Another one is peanut butter and jelly. I usually don't do that for a meal idea because that's what we have every day for lunch. We actually prefer honey, but that is a cheap idea for dinner if you're on a tight squeeze. Another one is pizza. Now, if you make your dough, it's going to be a lot cheaper than actual buying your dough. And you don't even have to buy pizza sauce. You can just do tomato sauce and put in some Italian seasoning and garlic salt and then cheese on top. You don't have to have the olives or bell pepper mushrooms or pepperoni, all of that stuff to add onto the pizza, that's going to make it more expensive. But if you're looking for a super cheap meal, that's what you got. Another idea is canned soup with some homemade bread, or baked beans and some cornbread. Make the bread by yourself or from home. Hang on. Brady, I'll be down in 5 minutes, okay? Sorry. So, canned soup with baked beans, or canned soup and homemade bread, or homemade cornbread and baked beans. Those are all some pretty cheap meals. You can get a big can of baked beans for $1.69, and that with cornbread on the side is pretty filling for a family of 3 or 4, depending on how old your kids are. So there are, with cheap meals, a lot of homemade items. It's going to take a little bit more time and planning for those meals, but it will save you money in the end. And the other thing with having cheap meals and needing to use cheap meals is you need to have the ingredients on hand. So to have noodles on hand, or to have, like the breakfast items, just basic baking ingredients on hand, will really help you save your money in the budget by being able to make the bread and tortillas and pancakes to help you with the cheap meals when the budget is tight at the end of the month. So comment below what your favorite go-to cheap meal idea. Doesn't have to be healthy. This is just a couple things trying to get us through to the end of the month so we don't go to the store and go over on our budget. Comment below in the section. And next week we are going to talk about a few tips to stop recreational shopping, aka boredom shopping, which is so easy to do nowadays with all of our mobile devices. So have a great week. I will see you next week, and I'll talk to you later.